So if you've been online for any stretch of time, you've seen that people will often say that a man should work on himself or improve himself for the purpose of attracting a woman at some point. And while that advice might sound nice when you first hear it, I actually believe it is very toxic, um, conforms to a lot of double standards, and validates unrealistic fantasies of both men and women that most men cannot meet, which are later used to beat you over the head and attack you for not meeting. So, in the video, I'm going to explain how self-improvement, work on yourself are these terms that, because they mean nothing, people have all kind of definitions for them to fall under. And as long as you're not with a woman, as long as you get rejected, turned down, or are single, people will accuse you of falling short in some area, not because you actually do, and it's caused some horrible disdain in your life, but because they believe in this very sexist idea that if you're a single man, your self-worth is lower than that of a woman, whether she be single or with a man. So this video's taken a while to do. I had some writer's block. I finally got over it. I hope that those who watch comment, they thumb the video up, share it if they'd like, and enjoy. I personally find self-improvement and work on yourself to be nebulous terms due to how varied the meaning behind these words and phrases can be person to person. I always go back to Ultra Instinct Illiterate's comment because it seems to have most of the unsolicited points of advice in one place. Some people will just advise doing physical things such as exercising, and even that can vary heavily, to analyzing my personality as to pick out 99 character flaws that they will assume I have. And you could literally do everything written in your comment section and still get nowhere with these people. Let's say I did go to the gym and developed muscles, which in my opinion, a man shouldn't need to get a date. Someone in my comment section could just accuse me of being too short or too ugly to get a date. But this is the first mistake of taking this advice seriously. You are being called upon to try and appease people who will never stop finding faults in you, because they can use these nebulous terms to justify any undesired result you get from your interactions with women in order to never criticize them. I should also clarify that self-improvement and work on yourself are not the only nebulous terms people use when trying to convince you of these extraneous tasks they think you need to do for the tiniest bits of attention from a woman. Gurge was a commentator on my channel that I got rid of because he wrote confusing comments without ever elaborating on what he was saying and would often contradict himself. This was most upsetting to me because the purpose of my weekly streams is to allow people who may have a disagreement to state their position in full and have it addressed on the spot. 2 months ago, Gerds wrote, "True, though do you feel attracting a woman emotionally is the key that you have missed." What is the difference between attracting a woman emotionally and any other way? No elaboration from Gerds. A month ago, he wrote, "You need to adopt a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset." What are these mindsets, and what difference does he believe they make in causing a woman to want to go on a date with you? No elaboration from Gerds. Also a month ago, he wrote, "True, though long-term use of hookers loses its novelty after a while." How long is long-term use, and what amounts to a while? No elaboration from Gerds. And this annoys me because I make an honest attempt to hear out a position that differs from mine if it is conveyed in a manner that I can understand. He kept writing these antagonistic comments, usually with no elaboration, which causes much of what he types to be confusing. He might as well be communicating in riddles. Riddle me this. Who has 2 melons on their chest, a triangle shape around their legs, and actively waste men's time? Another thing Gerds did was contradict himself over and over. He once wrote that I should focus on improving myself by lifting weights and aiming to make tons of money, but also writes that it is possible to get a date by treating it with the utmost focus, which he defines as spending lots of time talking to lots of different women. So at the same time as you're supposed to be focused on improving yourself, you're also supposed to be spending lots of time talking to loads of women. This came to a head last week when he contradicted himself in the same comment. He writes that self-improvement should be done for self-confidence, but furthers that high energy self-confidence gives you the best chance to find a high quality relationship. To quote Megumi, again, your comment contradicts itself. You're saying that Justin should self-improve for his self-confidence, but at the same time, you're telling him he should do this on the premise of increasing the chances of getting in a quote-unquote high-quality relationship. Can never make your mind up, huh? And this is a perfect segue into my grievance with the low confidence accusation that has been repeatedly spammed on my channel. A public persona is a character that a person plays when they are being viewed or seen by others in some form of public setting. Many men online pretend that watching a video is the same as meeting someone in real life and talking to them. This is why you have men who come to my channel and accuse me of lacking confidence. And they do the same thing to men watching their self-improvement videos. You probably lack confidence. I realize that what I say or do doesn't matter. As long as I am not with a woman, I will be accused of this, not because there's any validity to it, but it is simply a coping mechanism, part of their just world fallacy among people to explain why a particular man may have a difficult time getting a woman to show the slightest amount of romantic interest in him. I accept that this is their foregone conclusion about men that aren't with someone. It's very similar to the guy who accused me of asking out women that were too hot without seeing what any of them look like. These people create fan fiction about your life to justify the decisions of women they have never met. And let's talk about fan fiction. Like I said, most people online have never and will never meet me. So they have to invent explanations in their head for why I'm affected by this, even if there's no basis for their conclusion. Libby wrote, I'm not sure how old he is, but he is way too young to give up on women. Maybe he's too intelligent for the type of women he's attracted to. What does too intelligent mean? And how does she know what type of women I'm attracted to? Am I supposed to give the type of women I'm attracted to an IQ test before we speak? This other person accuses me of probably approaching women in a weird way. This comment is more fan fiction because no one online has ever seen me approach a single woman, but Ernway has a window into my soul and knows what I did when the cameras were off. And it's the type of stuff that makes me very resistant to having a conversation about this topic with people who don't have similar opinions, because why bother speaking to someone who is just going to create a story about you and your attempts to court a woman as a means of justifying you getting these repetitive, overdone results? To finish up the fan fiction portion of my criticism, I have a screenshot of Triple L saying that she believes I would prematurely stop speaking to a woman who is interested. If you don't know who this lady is, she's a woman I spoke to for at least 10 months who tried to push the Disney fairy tale of the magic woman that appears after years of rejection and gassed me up as this important person to her just to give me the same result as the rest of them of a no when she was asked to go on a date, and then got mad when I didn't want to be friend zoned by her. This comment is a good example of two things. First, it uses a nebulous term. What exactly is premature? How long are you supposed to talk to a woman before you can accurately assess she is wasting your time? Triple L never explained. Two, it's fan fiction because Triple L never saw me speak to any woman besides herself, so she's creating a coping mechanism, more just world fallacy, to justify me getting the same results. Oh, he can't get a date because he prematurely cuts off women who are interested, and since I'm never going to explain how long he's supposed to talk to someone that feigns interest in him, I have created a way for it to always be his fault when it doesn't work out. Another reason I don't like self-improvement and work on yourself is because they make advantageous assumptions about women that are not always so. Why should a man have to go to the gym to date a woman who doesn't exercise at all or is overweight? Why should a man have to have a financial balance for a woman who doesn't have a pot to piss in to want to go on a date with him? Why should a man have to be an alpha male, whatever that means, for women that are too cowardly to approach men they find physically attractive? This is what happens when you only assume negative things about men. They are placed against your idea of the perfect woman, and you lash out when we're unable to live up to your unrealistic fantasy. And when I say perfect woman, I'm talking about how none of them see any of the women I approach, nor will they ever know what any of them look like, but somehow they can deduce that they are all so much out of my league as to require me to undergo some extraneous task just so maybe one of them will want to go on a date. I've spoken repeatedly about double standards. I've used ultra instinct illiterate's comment before, but it's a really good example of what I mean when I proclaim that people use the idea of self-improvement as an excuse to push unrealistic and extraneous steps towards appealing to a random woman on you. You can read the comment yourself, but I'll paraphrase it as I make my point. It does not matter how good I looked, what I owned, or how famous I was. In my lifetime, I will never see someone tell a woman that to get with Justin, she has to have a certain kind of grooming, a certain hairstyle, be an alpha, act fast, have a degree or financial balance, go to the gym, have a mouthpiece or confidence. And, why should you do all of this or any of it for a woman that, for all you know, hasn't done any of it herself? If I wrote this comment to a woman on her video telling her she need to do these 10 things to get with the man, I'd be laughed at because it's ridiculous. That same year on another video, Gemini Girl wrote, "So you are entitled to lack confidence, but a female is not? Perhaps you should ask her why she is lacking confidence rather than making snap judgments. You have no clue what anyone has been through in their life to make her feel that way. Also, if someone states you are handsome, educated, and well-spoken, that does not mean she must spend the rest of her life with you just for simply making an observation. You have to get to know someone, and if either of you aren't really feeling it, then there is no point in continuing it. Nobody owes anyone anything, regardless of who approached who. For females watching this, they will be very cautious about approaching you, as you appear to judge them very harshly over every little thing and speak of their insecurities online." This comment is a very good companion to Ultra Instinct Illiterate's comment because it shows irony on the part of my detractors. I'm not entitled to a woman having confidence, as Gemini Girl accused me of believing. But a woman is entitled, according to Ultra Instinct Illiterate, to me having a college degree, financial balance, mouthpiece, confidence, and gym visits, among other things. Notice the nebulous use of the phrase, "if either of you aren't really feeling it." My favorite part is where she asserts that women watching this will be very cautious of approaching me, as if they ever did in the first place. What an empty threat. This is followed up by her observing that I appear to judge women very harshly over every little thing and speak of their insecurities online. I judge women very harshly, but the guy that came to my 12-minute video and found 10 flaws in a man he's never met before isn't judging me very harshly over every little thing. I speak of women's insecurities online, but the men who accuse me of lacking confidence and attack my appearance over and over again are not speaking of what they perceive to be my insecurities online. The only person in this entire scenario that has been judged very harshly over every little thing is me. I made a video called "I've Been Criticized for Everything," where I showed men attacking me over and over again, relating to anything they could come up with in screenshots of this belittling. But of course, Gemini Goof either won't see or acknowledge the proof in a comment in the same diction admitting my online crucifixion. And now we're led to my final and arguably biggest problem with self-improvement and work on yourself. Several years ago, when I first started making romance content and had reception that tried to criticize me without addressing any of my points, I noticed a pattern. Overwhelmingly among my detractors, who were predominantly male, there was this refusal to take me at my word or otherwise invent explanations for what had happened to me. You can refer back to the "you probably approached in a weird way" comment as an example of this. And the aftermath of this was me, in turn, not giving people that come to my comment section to criticize me or offer unsolicited advice the benefit of the doubt. So going back to Ultra Instinct Illiterate's comment, what proof do we have that this clown did half of the 10 pieces of advice he offered? What proof has he showed that he goes to the gym or has a financial balance or a college degree or is an alpha male? On my World Without Heroes 2 stream, I had a user who called me a mediocre man that lacked upward mobility and wasn't evolving because I declined to take his advice. No proof was ever shown that he had taken his own, which was more go to the gym drivel, or that it had culminated in him getting a girlfriend or a wife. And that's the elephant in the room. Because of the internet's anonymity, anyone can come on here, offer ridiculous solutions, and psychoanalyze a man they've never met while pretending they're drowning in women. Right now, I could make an account with a different name and say that I've been married 7 times like Elizabeth Taylor and had 60 girlfriends, and I'd be just as credible as the clowns pretending they're such experts on getting a date. The other thing I've noticed is that the men that make advice videos seem to be the only ones showing proof they've been with someone, and it still doesn't match their rhetoric. There's a video with tens of thousands of views and 2,000 likes where a man gives his opinion on how to get a girlfriend. And it's atrocious, as it's more of the same, you need to have more confidence, nebulous, work on yourself drivel. But what I found interesting about this person is that he openly admits that he has only ever had one girlfriend who he only acquired in the past few months after years of getting rejected like there was no tomorrow. And yet now he's enough of an expert to offer his advice on how to get one. And this is not me attempting to make fun of him for getting turned down repeatedly. You just need to understand that even the guys pushing the self-improvement stuff still barely get any attention from women. While self-improvement and work on yourself sound good on paper, I believe they are courteous ways of attempting to assign a man a never-ending series of hoops that he's always going to be accused of not completing, no matter how many of these things he does to improve if he is not in a relationship with a woman, effectively limiting his worth as a person to if a random lady likes him back, a random lady who will never be told to do half the things the man is pushed to do because of blatant double standards by people. These people will always cite something about a man as his fatal flaw, whether it's his appearance, personality, or something they have no evidence of, meaning that self-improvement will never prevent you from being nitpicked for justifications, for having your time wasted, and thus it is futile to take anything they say seriously, since to them it's always your fault. They will also exclude circumstances out of your control, such as if the woman is speaking to loads of other men at the same time as she's talking to you, because to them, it's always your fault. And the reason they act this way is because these men have their heads so far up the behind of a woman, I wouldn't be surprised they could see her uterus. If you don't take their advice and don't get a woman, it's your fault. If you take their advice and still don't get a woman, it's your fault. So either way, you just can't win.